Hi, I'm Imogen Soper and I'm an A-level student currently studying psychology, English literature and language, Spanish and core maths AS. With my UCAS deadline looming with it next Friday, I thought it was a good idea just to make a quick video about the UCAS application for anybody that has decided at the last minute that they want to apply for university. The form is made up of 9 parts and I know it can seem a bit scary, but try and start with the things that you know about, like your name and your date of birth. I'm going to run through the 9 sections with you now. So the first part of the form is your personal details, which is things like your name, your date of birth, your address, your nationality, maybe your passport details if you come from a different country, what your parents do for a living and things like this. They just really want to get to know you, but in more of a formal and professional way on a form. The second section is additional information, so this is where they ask you what your sexuality is. You obviously don't have to state it if you don't want to. They ask your gender, again you don't have to state it if you don't want to, and here they ask you what your parents do and whether they went to university or not, and they try and get a feel for where you come from and what your background is. So the third section is student finance, which is where you basically just tick a box saying whether you're going to be applying for student finance or not. If you are like most of the students in the country, then you will be, in which case you tick the yes box, and if you are very lucky that you have enough money to not need a maintenance loan, then you will tick the no box. It will also ask you things like, do you want to be notified when you need to start applying for student finance, which is something I've ticked yes to because I am sure I will forget when the time comes and I really cannot do that. So the fourth section is your choices of where you want to go and what course you want to do. Now, based on the fact that your personal statement is going to have to be sent to all 5 applications, you should probably choose on one course or on courses that are quite similar, bearing in mind you shouldn't be talking about wanting to do geography and perhaps Spanish and needing to talk about them both in the same personal statement. It's quite difficult to correlate between different courses completely. So your 5 choices usually will be just 5 different universities, or if you want to apply for a different type of course, so maybe psychology with criminology and then psychology on its own, this would be where you would put your choices down. You either get 3 or 5 choices depending on how much you pay for your application. The 5th section is your education section. A common question asked by a lot of students is, if I've done A-levels before and they didn't go quite to plan and I'm redoing them, do I still have to put these on my form? Because obviously I'm redoing them for a reason, so perhaps you got all U's and you don't really want to be showing universities that you didn't do very well. But this is an important part of your application, as they need to see what you've been doing for those years and that you haven't just been sitting around doing nothing. If you have a job, the 6th section is for you, as this is where you put your employment details. So I work at Waitrose, so I've been able to put that on my application and hopefully they will see this as a good thing. Also, if you work somewhere in a big company or you work somewhere where you know transfers are available, try and see if you can go to a university where one of your branches is. For example, the universities I'm applying to, I'm looking to see if there are any Waitrose nearby so I can carry on earning whilst I'm at university, as this is going to be something I'm going to be needing to do anyway, and working in the same kind of environment and the same company that I am at the moment would be really helpful. The 7th section is probably the section that gets completed last by every single student across the country, and this is the personal statement. The personal statement is a white blank box on the application where you write about why you want to do the course, who you are, what's so brilliant about you, and what makes you so individual that they need to choose you out of thousands of other students to come to their university and do your chosen course. I would recommend doing this in something like Word or Google Documents, where you can access it after the application has timed out, as it times out after 30 minutes I think, so you don't want to lose your work halfway through. Word also has a word counter, ironically, which means that you won't go over the 4,000 characters in your final draft. When putting your personal statement from Word into UCAS, it will just cut your personal statement in half if it is gone over 4,000 characters. So please be careful and check that you haven't gone over the word count, as this will look pretty silly to the application team at the universities of your choice if you can't even stick to the word count of the personal statement. A bit of advice about the personal statement: try not to use too many long or complicated words, because this will make you sound like you don't really know what you're talking about and you've just gone through with the Thesaurus app and changed small words to longer words. There are lots of videos online on the UCAS Twitter or the UCAS webpage to show you how to write your personal statement, and when I started writing mine I used the UCAS template that they have on their website, which really helped me just to identify what I really wanted to do with my course and why I wanted to do it. So the personal statement is really the last bit you need to worry about, because the 8th section is just checking all your details are correct. At some point, your college or sixth form will take your application in and they will start writing references for your application. So one teacher or one lecturer will write a reference for you and it will be personal to you, and they will then send that off with your application, and hopefully it will align with your personal statement and your application and your predicted grades. And the 9th section, which you can't access until you've checked all your personal details, is the pay and send section, which is where you put in your credit card details and you pay a certain amount for the amount of choices you've chosen. So that's the overview of the UCAS application. I promise once you start it, it's not as scary as it seems. The first step would just be to be filling out the personal details about you. If you can't think of anything else, just fill out the details you know, like your name and your date of birth. At each stage of the application you will have a box next to the name of the stage that you are at, and if you haven't begun it will be blank. If you are partway through it, it will have a couple of dots in it, like you're doing the little dots in a sentence, and if you've completed it and you've clicked save at the bottom of the page, it will have a tick. If you have selected that you've completed it and you do save it, this does not mean you can't go back and edit it, so don't worry about saving things. One of the most important things about going to university is enjoying yourself and learning something that you enjoy. So when you're choosing your universities for your choices, please remember to think about the things that matter to you. Do you want to be close to home, or would you rather be in a different country? Do you want to study this course with something else or on its own? There are so many different options and so many different courses at so many different universities. You really are spoiled for choice, so don't be too overwhelmed, and just remember that this is your future, so you can decide what you're doing. A lot of people will give you advice over the next few months about whether to go to university or not. You have to try and remember that everybody has their own biased opinions, and sometimes you just have to think to yourself, what do I want to do? This really helped me when I decided when I wanted to go to university. I felt quite a pressure that it had always been expected that I would just go to university. That would be my next step after A-levels. But just remember that it's your future and you're choosing it. I know this has been really cringy and I feel a little bit cringed out, but I think this should help a couple of people with choosing whether or not to go to university and how to use the application system online on ucas.com. Thank you for watching, and keep an eye on my blog for more information about student life and UCAS applications in the near future.